There's a few mistakes out there that we can easily make that end up wearing out our kit and then ending up costing us money. So I've got a few tips for you and some handy hacks to help your kit last longer, and then you can save that precious cash for more coffee. To prolong the life of your helmet, you obviously want to keep it nice and clean and keep it protected, maybe in a protected bag, especially if it's going in the boot of your car, because you don't want that rolling around, getting scratched or getting banged. But also, if you don't have a protective cover, when you store it, make sure it's away from direct heat and direct sunlight, as this can really damage your helmet. So heat can separate the layers, it may even melt it in parts, and that could mean from the sun, the radiator, or even really close to a light on the top of a shelf could do it. Also, keep it away from direct sunlight, because the UV rays can damage the structure, but it also can bleach the color and it just won't look very nice. If you're going to wash your helmet, then use a mild detergent or just lukewarm water to clean it out. And you can usually remove pads and inner linings, and they can be washed by hand too. Don't put them in the washing machine, as it might destroy them. And then just leave them flat on the surface to dry out so that you can put them back in. And if you clean these regularly on the inside, then it should stop the buildup of mud and sweat and generally bacteria that will degrade the insides but also make it smell pretty bad. Now, naturally, you should be inspecting your helmet for damage like cracks or dents. To be safe, they should be replaced if they've had a hard knock. So, to prolong it, obviously, treat it with some respect. Don't hang it on the handlebars where it can fall and drop on the ground, and don't throw it in the back of your vehicle or your van or your boot of your car where it's going to get knocked and you'll end up having to replace it sooner than you anticipated. So to prolong the life of your glasses and your goggles while riding, treat these with a bit of respect as well. Don't hang them on clothing where they can just fall off and get damaged, and don't hang your goggles on your handlebars where they can bang around on the bike or even get scratched by the brake lever. With goggles, what you want to do is either keep them on your helmet while you're riding. Sometimes you can wear them backwards so that the lens is at the back and not over your eyes. Or you can bring out their protective case and put them in there, and then those can be hung on your handlebar. Although for extra safety, one tip I like is to wrap them on the side of your arm, maybe a couple of times, just so that they don't fall down and they don't get scratched by anything. For glasses, if you want to take them off, the helmet is another good solution, assuming you do actually have a glasses docking station. Sometimes it's at the back, sometimes it's at the front under your visor. Either way, make sure that they're not loose and they won't wobble out. If you're cleaning them, what I tend to do if they're muddy is to run them under warm water first to get the mud off. Because if you start wiping mud, there could be tiny bits of grit in there that will actually scratch the lens. So wash that off first, and then you can clean it with some lens-specific cleaning solution is my preferred, and a microfiber cloth. Now, a lot of the time, the cases that your glasses come in are actually decent microfiber cloths that you can clean the lens with. And this will keep your vision nice and clear without putting any scratches in it. When you're out riding, it's a good idea to take your case if you need to put them away, but also just to clean them along the way. And if you ride in mucky conditions, consider getting yourself some gloves that actually have a microfiber cloth built into the gloves. Otherwise, wiping them with normal fabrics can be too abrasive and may also scratch the lens. So the build-up of mud, bodily sweat and oils and even sun cream can all build up in technical garments and impede their breathability and also affect or negatively affect the waterproofing on your garments too. So your clothing should be regularly washed and it should be dried, preferably naturally dried, not on radiators or in tumble dryers. And then they should be stored in a cool, dry dry place away from direct heat and sunlight. And also zips should be regularly lubricated so that they don't crust up and stop working. Now, when it comes to washing, there are rules for that too. Usually you want to avoid softener for waterproof garments, and ideally you want to be using a technical wash on these products, like a Nightcap Tech Wash, for example, or if you can't get some kind of branded tech wash, then you can use gentle soap flakes, not harsh detergents. And also, if your clothing has a DWR or a waterproof coating, then you can actually re-proof this waterproof coating. You can put that back on. So you can get something like a Nightcap re-proofer, and you'll need to wash your garments, dry them off, and then use the re-proofer and possibly put them back in the wash to re-proof those garments. But that is a handy way of making sure these expensive garments stand the test of time. You need to treat your shoes just like I've described with the technical clothing. They do need to be washed regularly to get rid of bodily sweat and mud that can degrade the shoes or generally cause a buildup of bacteria that will make them smell pretty bad. So what you can do is make sure you dry them after being washed. But also, if you've got waterproof shoes, then generally the rule of thumb is to let these dry naturally. You can remove the inner soles to speed up the process, but this tends to make them last a little longer than putting them on the radiator. And you can actually re-proof shoes as well. So there are branded sprays out there that can re-waterproof your shoes if you've noticed that they started to let a little bit of water in. And finally, if you're a clipless shoe wearer, make sure you're getting the muck and grit out of your cleats, because this can build up and hold moisture in there, and it can cause those bolts to seize in place, and they'll be really tricky to get out when you need them to. A little bit of maintenance spray wouldn't go amiss after you've cleaned them, just to keep the moisture out of it, and also periodically taking those bolts out and greasing them and putting them back in will make your life a little bit easier when it comes to changing them. So your water bottles or your Camelback bladders, if you use them, or anything that you use to carry your energy solution, needs to be washed regularly. If you're using more than just water, then you ideally want to be rinsing out those as soon as you finish riding to stop the buildup of bacteria and mold inside of them. Now, usually bottles and Camelback bladders are fine to use a soap, a mild soap like a dishwasher, for example, and hot water, and a firm bristle brush to get inside and try and get away all of that muck and bacteria. But don't use boiling water, because that can actually melt through bottles and damage your Camelback bladder. Also, you might want to periodically give them a good deep clean, and you can actually buy Camelback specific tablets to give them a deep clean, or you can use baking soda as well and let that soak in. And I also use a baby bottle sterilizing solution, which I leave in my bottles and my bladders overnight to get rid of the bacteria, and it stops that buildup of black mold. And finally, it should go without saying not to use anything harsh like chlorine or bleach, because you don't want that in something that you're about to drink from. So as they say, take care of your kit and it will take care of you. Hopefully these tips will give you a few ideas on how you can prolong the life of your kit and save yourself some money in the long run. Anyway, let's go for a bike ride.